maybe treat yourself to something. Go out for an ice cream, or go out for a veggie smoothie, or whatever you find that floats your boat and makes you feel good and happy. Find it an enjoyable time. Go to the beach. Make sure that when you celebrate, it is an activity that you like to do, like bike riding, flying a kite, whatever it may be, exercising. I don't know what particular things you like, but there's a whole cornucopia of possibilities. And do not find an activity in which another person is trying to manipulate you just to use you, and you will end up having a bad time. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it'll turn that way. Somebody may be trying to use you, but you could actually use that to your advantage as long as it's not continuous. So they may be like, "Can you help me move?" And you help them move. They're not paying you, they're not doing, so you do what you can for them, and they may be ungrateful, but you have done something good, and if they continue to use you, you'd be like, no thanks. They should be grateful, or they can choose to be grateful for what you've done, but some people just don't do that because they don't want to project anything good towards your way, so they're ungrateful, and therefore they want to make null and void the good you have done. But there's a greater force that sees that you've done good regardless of their bad. So in turn, you're sowing and reaping good, even though they're not paying it forward. So as you continue on the human instruction, you will understand that there are these ways of thinking that would enable you to grow and feel good or not. And so you see that the other person's projection of negative energy to you, and enabling you to feel negative of a belief, sometimes what they brought up in the past, and they're using this time with the past or the future. Even when somebody threatens you, saying they're going to get you later, they're using the future. If they were going to get you, they would have gotten you right there. Or tried to make an attempt, regardless. As long as they're projecting negative, they're defeated before they've begun. So because of these beliefs you brought up, and then when you keep these beliefs, you sustain them, and these feelings of this matrix as you're growing, either below or above. So you may believe that there is something you can do, as opposed to something you can do which will enable you without these problems, or live in a state of euphoria, but know that drugs or whatever else is not going to take you there, but through the structure of who you are, and how to get out of these negative situations and consequences. The grass is not greener on the other side. Happiness comes and goes. Happiness is also within you, and not necessarily without you, although both inwards and outwards are good in order to share these existing energies, and these negative energies pass through you, and then you can choose how to reject or accept them, the particular energy that's flowing through you, through your beliefs, and creating your total structure, which creates your total outcome over time. But all these choices that you are to make every day, and which are redundant. A lot of these are redundant choices that you go through every day with very similar situations, further solidifying you. So either you learn or you don't learn. Negative people then, being true to themselves, will continue to create these more negative energies as they're manifesting this cycle, this endless cycle of this process in which they take to deceive you, and try to get many to be deceived, and win win through the majority of ignorance as opposed to the majority of enlightenment. And so, which means in turn that if you can enlighten enough people, then we could actually reverse this. A lot of people are hemorrhaging now. A lot of people are starting to awaken. And as they're awakened, they're seeing that the structure was nothing more than a deception that was brought upon them simply to control and deceive the masses, and therefore giving them a sense of disempowerment, because they see the problems but they don't know what to do about it and how to go about in getting a better way of living to relieve themselves of all this ignorance. So you're better off on focusing on the love, on giving share and happiness, and the streams of energy of love that'll flow within one person to another, and do not be fooled of these lies and 360 degrees of negatives, and not trying to alleviate your energy through money, drugs, sex, or work, but knowing the balance and the happier, and looking at truth and the positive structure that will help you begin and to come together, and for all of us into creating a better world. Life is the only way it is to be, because of positive collective energy trumps negative energy. So life is the way it is now is because of this collective energy that's working together, that uses this knowledge and disorganization and confusion against the unknowing masses, trying to confuse and anger and frustrate, basically getting you to have these negative emotions and confuse these procedures of whatever it may be, such as an example of just simply just going buying or purchasing an item, and you're getting the change first with no receipt. If the cashier is not counting the change off to you and just throwing it all in your hand, how do you know you're actually getting the correct amount? Technically, they're supposed to give you the change. All right, this and this is your change, and here it is. But they're just putting all in a pile. They're doing it incorrect, and not saying, okay, this is $20, it's $5.49, and this is your change. Quick, simple, efficient, and easy. But no. They've been getting worse with this, because a lot of people are actually trying to rob you. So they'll give you the incorrect change. They'll tell you the 20 was a 10 or the 10 was a 5, and shorting you. And they do that to a lot of people, and they do that even with your credit cards, and you get charges for something you have no idea, or they're charging you a late charge when you know you paid on time. So, but again, depending on what the problem is, you can alleviate it through the solution and initiating that solution, because some people don't even bother to check their bills, so they're paying for something they never use, and they're paying it and paying it and paying it. Maybe 10 years down the line, they're thinking, oh, who ordered that? And then come to find, you never ordered it. It was so bad that one time I had to get me, the creditor, and the person who said I bought something, and they didn't even deny it. All I had to do was say, who authorized this payment? And they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, we'll return your money. Never answered the question. They didn't even say, I'm sorry. They was like, oh, okay, we'll return your money. That's it. And, well, I guess that solved the problem. But imagine the people that never check it. And I usually go check out the purchases one by one. Keeping track, and some people don't even bother to keep track. They don't even want receipts, and then in turn they pay for it, not realizing that. And if you do that, so if I have 20,000 credit cards information, and I charge all 20,000 or even a million people, and I charge them all $29.99 or $5.99, and you make ridiculous amounts of money, And even if only a quarter of them or a certain percentage says, oh, I want my money back, you pay it back. But there's so many other people that says nothing or say nothing because they're too busy doing this and doing that, and they're not checking their bills. And so therefore they're easily robbed and easily taken advantage of, as opposed to people who actually do keep track and they do check dates, times, where they were, to actually know what had occurred. Negative people will make mistakes in their favor to hurry you along in their advantage. But do not believe this line until the transaction is done correctly and completed. So if they're real good, if you had the upper hand in a deal, but they'll play stupid if they had the upper hand. In other words, they're intelligent if you take advantage of them. They're real geniuses if you take advantage of them. But if they take advantage of you, they'll claim dumb. Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. What, are you perfect? That's what they'll say. Or other things. Oh, I'm not holier than thou. And that wasn't even a question. You know, I never said you were holier than thou. I never said I was holier than thou. But again, perfect is a dualistic definition. One is perfect, meaning you don't make mistakes, which is erroneous because that's how we learn, and then you don't make mistakes. And the other one means you're not good or bad, meaning, oh, I'm not perfect, meaning I can't be good. But you can be perfect. You can be good. You can be perfect. Yeah, you can be perfect, meaning you can be good, and you do learn from your mistakes. So you do follow a procedure, and you do say, okay, you're giving me $20, you give me $50, the price is this, and here's your change. Here's your receipt as a matter of procedure. Now, if they said they don't want the receipt, that's up to you. You can ask them, do they want a receipt? But other than that, the change is the amount. It should be mentioned for the simple reason as to not confuse any matter. Unless you're using a credit card, then it's self-evident that you can see what's going on as to what had taken place, and if there's a problem, you will handle it right there. And again, learning what their policy and procedures are will help you learn what kind of business you're dealing with. So. You will know by keeping track. Even if you park your car, you will know if you kept the door locked or not locked because you're keeping track. You'll know if you locked your door before you left the house. So if you come back, you locked your door and it's unlocked, you're like, there's a problem. I know I left it locked. Well, then you look and investigate and see what's going on. Now, if you have trouble remembering, you may want to repeat it to yourself. Okay, I'm locking this, or I'm doing this, because a lot of people, as you're supposed to remember a step in a procedure, they'll be distracting. So you would be, did I lock my door? Did I do that? Because they're interrupting you the very second you're doing it. And if they continuously do this, you feel like you're forgetting things and you're being forgetful when it was nothing more than a ploy in order to create you to believe you're forgetful. Then you act forgetful, and next thing you know, you're stuck on this loop, always wondering, I don't know if I did that, I don't remember, because they're conditioning you in such a way of structuring you to get you to believe something that is erroneous, as opposed to someone who knows how this works. So many times a person can ask you the same question, or you can ask a question in return, or have a list of questions yourself. Is up to you what sort of questions, what sort of interruptions is going on, so you'll know that person's structure. And if you're doing something to interrupt you, you tell them, hold on, and in your inner dialogue, I'm locking my door, or I'm doing this now, I'm following this step. They move on to the next step, and know if they're anti-goal or if they're actually waiting a minute not to be disruptive, interrupt, disrupt, and distract. So choose to know how you're going to direct yourself and keep in track as to what's going on. And if there's too many problems, you can see how high does the problem go. Is it just that employee? Is it the manager? Is it the way the whole company is being run? Is it the principal? Is it higher than the principal, or is it higher than the chief of police? Exactly where are they continuously manifesting these problems? And some people, rather than discussing, again, they get louder and louder, becoming more annoying as opposed to finding solution. They'll create more problems, therefore agitating it even worse. And so that's where the reverse policy, and that's where they punish the people who are actually negative, and they punish the people who are positive, and letting the people who are negative go as a form of saying, I belong to this negative club. So they try to continue that direction by letting by rewarding the negative and punishing the positive. So this is negative forces, the negative system. It's how they stay in control, and they're using and exploiting people for their own negative goals to continue the money to decipher and stream in a certain direction that it benefits the few who actually could actually worship dark entities and who work in that particular direction. So negative people do conspire together, and regardless of any organizations, to make things appear to be true when they're not true, and when they have enemies, to make it appear that they have enemies, but the enemies are working together, creating more pain for both sides, as opposed to one person being projecting the negative and the other person or organization knowing how it works. So it would stop that false narrative as to saying, well, you got to be one side or the other, but you joining neither side because you know they're both corrupt, working for the same end effect. And using these false accusations and persecute people, and even up to the death penalty when they have done nothing wrong. Usually they stop that. Again, there's a certain underlying rule that even evil people fall in line with. There's a rule that they must abide by, because they just don't kill everybody willy-nilly. If that's the way negative was allowed to be, they would have been doing that, and mostly everybody would have been dead by now. But there are consequences to every negative action. So there's as above, so below, and as below, as above, and as below has an exact order. It's a science at how they work. Again, meaning the top organizations for both sides are evil, so they can get the people from lower sides to both fight each other and kill each other off. So there's a structure to it, and they do that by you willingly joining that route in order to be deceived and hurt and kill or be killed, as opposed to loving and be loved. Negative people in charge had chosen to do this and hurt one person or help one another in order to keep this system going for thousands and thousands of years. It is beyond me how we came to this point, although there were many people who in history had tried to alleviate it or understand it and write, people like Socrates and the Buddha and Christ, and there were so many philosophers and psychiatrists or different people in different fields who work towards a better world, but most of them cracked. They never figured it out. They never understood 369 on the ultimate level, meaning the true knowledge of all. So they all cracked. So they were trying to find it, but they could never find it. So they all died, or they killed themselves, or they snapped, trying to find the answer, because the question's always bugging them, but they could never find the answer due to the fact that they never found enlightenment. So they always walked around